Good evening, friends. Welcome to Akulmach, and my name is Chandrakant. And in this stream, we have a very strong message, as you can check out from the title that we are talking about the management lessons that we learn from Mahabharata. Mahabharata, as you know, is an epic, and a lot of people, almost like 30 to 40% people, believe in this epic across the world. It is a it's also a historic document. It teaches us lot many things, and today I have taken one particular lessons for our management people like you and me, who are running teams and also CEOs of various companies. What is that we learn from Mahabharata as a management lesson? And that is something that we will learn today. And as you know that there are various characters in Mahabharata, we all know all these characters. I'm not going in depth on the characterization of the story, because by no means my intention is to tell you the story, because you already know the story. My intention is to basically derive the management lessons that we can all use. So let's continue. And this live stream will be very short, but it will have a very profound impact if you can gather this particular if you can collect the essence of this live stream. Your company will actually grow, your team will also become very cohesive, and if you can take that lesson from Mahabharata, even your life will also improve quite a bit. So let's continue. As you know that in Mahabharata there were two sides. In any epic there are always two sides. One is good, the other is bad. So obviously in case of Mahabharata there were Pandavas and Kauravas, and they were the opposite side. Obviously, they fought with each other, and the battle which pursued later on between these two clans was named as Dharam Yudh, because both parties were fighting for their own dharma and karma. So what led to this battle? Obviously greed. The first lesson that we learn is that, without saying anything good or bad about any party, but there was greed. Sometimes there was greed on Pandava's side, sometimes there was greed on Kauravas side, and the greed was driving a lot many actions. The entire actions which culminated into a battle, a world war, which is known as Mahabharata, was completely driven by the greed. And because of the greed resulted into actions. And friends, whenever there are actions, there will be consequences. So if there are actions which are driven by greed, the consequences of those actions will be equally bad. And this is exactly what happened. So most of the characters, most of the events which were important events in Mahabharata were driven by greed. And obviously it was building up, because if you are not taking a greed based action, obviously the consequence will be something else. Since most of these actions which were taken by either Pandavas or Kauravas were driven by greed, therefore the consequences that pursue later on in their life were driven mostly by greed. So that is one thing which we have to understand, that if you have greed of any kind, the consequence of that greed or the action that you take because of that greed will result into a consequence which may affect you in the negative manner. All right, so because of the greed, what happened? Because there was greed on both sides, it resulted into revenge. The consequence of the greed led to revenge, and that is what the whole consequence of Mahabharata is, that if you have greed, the actions which will be driven by the greed will result into a revenge. Because when you have greed, you want to get something. The it is not the result is not in your hand, the action is in your hand. Because you have a greed in your mind, you will take certain action to fulfill that greed, and obviously some party will get will get angry about it, because you are actually acting because of the greed, and that will result in revenge. So from both sides there will be revenge, action of revenge from both sides. So this is exactly what happened. So sometimes there were action resulted in consequences because of the greed that Pandavas had, but they had very little, they had very small. However, the Kauravas had much bigger greed, and that is why the consequence, the weight of the consequence of that greed was very heavy on Kauravas. So I think and the revenge was also very heavy, because Pandava was now fighting the battle with the intention to take revenge from Kauravas. There was no element of pardoning anybody. There was no element of not fighting. The element of not fighting, the option of not fighting, not going into the battle and killing the enemy was not there, because water has flown under the bridge and over the bridge. There was no option left other than to kill each other. So this is what it happened. But then this plot actually kept building up for a number of years. There were a lot of chances given. In fact, Lord Krishna himself, Bhagwan Krishna, gave those chances. But people, because they were all affected by greed, they did not take those chances. And they did not embrace the peace, and hence perished. Everyone perished. In fact, I will cover that part, the overall consequence about that. But I think today we are discussing about the management lesson. So the management lesson again is that if you have greed, which will result into revenge, and because the combination of greed and revenge will open the door towards doom for both parties. Nobody can escape this. If you have greed, which will take you to a path towards revenge, and it will open up the door of doom. So remember this, friend. In our company, if you build the environment of greed, and if you build the environment of going out there, capturing everything, whatever the cost may be, then you are actually opening up a scenario where there will be a lot of animosity against you, either within the company or even outside from the competitors. So remember this, do not have too much greed, because that will eventually lead to revenge. So the management lessons that we have is, we should actually keep building our company, our team, on the basis of collaboration, integrity, ethics, respect and honesty. That is a very clear message. So imagine if Pandavas and Kauravas were integrated and they had respected each other honestly, do you think this battle would have taken place? Because they would have amicably resolved their issues, they would have respected each other, and we would not be sitting here today and talking about the management lessons that we learned from Mahabharata. So it's a very important lesson that we learn, is that we should not be going on the path of greed, which will create problem for us. We should rather become more ethical in our approach, and collaboration should be the mantra for us, and we should respect each other. And if we do that, if we are able to build such a cohesive team for ourselves, then that will result into a more collaborative team. All different types of colors in our team will work together, will fit together as if they were meant to work together. So we know that everybody is not similar. The team comprised of all kinds of people, but team is that works together like a wheel. So it becomes like a one organism, and then progress towards success. In team, once all the cog wheels fit together and move forward, nobody is junior, nobody is senior, they're all equal, they all contribute towards common goal. So if you have a team which is built on integrity and respect for each other, then there will be no revenge, there will be no feeling of greed, there will be no feeling of who's bigger, who's smaller, and then you will actually form much cohesive team. So I think this is a very strong message that Mahabharata overall teaches us, that we should not behave like Pandavas and Kauravas. We should actually learn from their mistake and change our life. So friends, what do you think about this? Do you have any other input other than what I have told you? I will be more than eager to know your comments. And thanks for watching, and I will catch you again in the next edition of Akulmach. Until then, Take care and bye bye for today.